Good evening, people. Welcome to Reaching Out with Eddie, where my guest today is Representative Charles Young Jr., House District 82. Good evening, Representative.
Good evening. How are you, Mr. Hope?
I'm doing fine. I appreciate you coming by, stopping in and tell you know what's on it. I'm going to get into the lottery business. I got to say that. Could you tell us about, first introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do and some of the things that you have done, and what is the representative do?
Well, first of all, as a member of the legislature, I represent 23,600 people approximately in the Meridian area. In the House of Representatives, we bring legislation to the forefront, and the way that legislation gets crafted is either a legislator will meet with our staff attorneys to give them ideas that we have on developing new laws or new statutes, or one of our constituents can come to us and they can bring us, an idea, and we can sit down with those same attorneys and craft it in the form of a bill to present to committee. So those are a couple of ways that we can get legislation in the pipeline. Now, once the legislation goes to committee can move the legislation up or down. That is, either they vote for it or they vote against it. If they vote for it, then it goes before the entire House body for approval. And if it gets approved by the House body, then it goes through the same process on the Senate side. So you can see it has one opportunity for success, but it's got a lot of opportunities for failure.
So I got to ask, could you tell the people a little bit about yourself and who had this job before you and where actually is District 82?
District 82 is Central Meridian, and now it runs a little bit south toward the airport, down toward Savoy. Prior to that, it was just a square block of inner city Meridian that ran up to North Hill Street, over to Highway 45, back down and around over by the military complex going toward the airport, north of the interstate, and then back up toward North Hill Street. Like I said, since redistricting took place, I got redrawn a little bit. We no longer have Meridian High School. Black legislator doesn't have Meridian High School in the district. But we do have a lot more of South Meridian toward Savoy. And the reason that the district was drawn like that was to create a larger white population for Greg Snowden's district. So that district got a larger white population, and I received a larger black population. My father served in the legislature for 30 years. Upon his death, Wilbur Jones with Greater Meridian Health Clinic served the balance of that term, and I have been serving the past 2 terms, going into my third term now.
I got to ask you a question. Could you tell us about the lottery? I've been reading about it, and how will that benefit us? And I got to say, one of the things that hurt this state is the lack of education, good education.
Well, it is. You and I talked immediately after a lottery because, I informed you that I did not vote for the lottery. And you said, what? Why didn't you vote for the lottery? And he said, I know it's got to be something if you didn't vote for it.
That's right.
And then I went down my list of things and reasons why I didn't support the lottery. Number one, the lottery bill was presented 18 years prior by the Black Legislative Caucus. The author of that bill was a female legislator from Hinds County, Miss Alice Clark. And for 18 years, a predominantly white legislature voted that legislation down. The reason being was that control hadn't been established so that money could move into the right circles. Now, this legislative session, the makeup of the legislature changed and control of the money was established for the lottery. Gaming in Mississippi came to Mississippi under the premise that proceeds from gaming would go toward education. Well, that's somewhat true and somewhat not true. Instead of the monies going to education, the monies go into the general fund, and then the legislature decides what portion of those monies will go toward education. So it's a big difference in saying the money will go to the education fund and then taking a piece of the pie and giving it to education. So now with the lottery, the initial lottery bill provided for no money going toward education. Now, we should ask ourselves this question, and this is on my list of reasons why. Who tears up roads and bridges? Heavy haulers. Those big trucks out there putting all that weight on them. How many minorities do you know that own companies that haul heavy loads?
I don't know any.
I don't know too many also. So, now if the folks hauling these heavy loads are tearing up the roads and bridges, why doesn't the state make them pay for the roads and bridges they tear up?
That's right.
Second question is those heavy haulers burning diesel. Why didn't we impose a tax on diesel fuel to help defray the cost of those expenses for repair on the road and bridges?
That's right. Because
again, those people that own those big companies is making those millions of dollars would have had to incur that expense. But, you know, there's a blues song that I like. And, you know, the melody kind of goes a little bit like that. These last $2,
Johnny Taylor,
I'm not gonna lose. Well, who do we think gonna be running down there looking for a ray of hope with them last $2 on them tickets? Us, poor folks and minorities. So we gonna take the first $50 million of these last $2 to pay for these roads and bridges that heavy haulers are tearing up.
And rich folks tearing up.
Thank you. So now we go back to the initial premise that proceeds from gaming, as prescribed by Southern Baptists, would have to go towards something good, which was education. Well, we know that under this piece of legislation, we weren't going to initially move any money toward education. So that was another reason I couldn't support it. And then the legislature said, well, $50 million up front is going to go toward road and bridges. And if we meet a $80 million net threshold, then we'll start looking at monies to go toward education.
Will that be automatic, or is that they're going to look at it?
Well, I haven't read the final draft on the legislation since, you know, the lottery has made it this far into, you know, the toward the final stages on moving toward going into existence. But we do have a threshold that's there for the potential of some money moving toward education. Now, there were a couple other loopholes. You know, number one, when we talked about monies that were going to be broken out for the lottery commission. Well, you know, all of these people get paid, and I think you need to ask someone, how much do they get paid? The second thing is expenses. They get expenses off the top, and you and I know how much that can be.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would love to fly to Europe and have lunch with you, because that would be an expense, and it would come off the top.
Wow.
Which meant that money wouldn't go toward road and bridge repair or toward education either. So when you ask me, you know, well, why didn't you support the lottery? I support the lottery. I just don't support the way that we, the state of Mississippi, have set it up versus some other states.
And I agree. And again, we stay at the bottom. So this new lottery start will, from what I understand, is that the November the 5th that it starts?
We getting pretty close to it now. The person that is actually the chair of the lottery commission is the former Chief Administrative Officer for the city of Meridian, Mike McGreevy.
Wow.
And as you can see, he's doing an excellent job of getting this thing on the road.
Yeah.
I wish we could have kept him here in Meridian.
They weren't going to keep him here. You know, the purse ain't going to keep nothing good for us.
Oh, well.
What about the mayor? It's so many things that we can talk about. One thing I want to talk about is this city right here. This is where you grew up at. This is your home field.
Just my home.
And we have a lot of things named after your family, such as the Velma Young Center. Tell
Yes,
them who
sir.
Velma Young is.
Velma Young is my grandmother, and my grandmother loved people, and she loved children. And she put a lot of time and a lot of energies into helping to make certain that children in the East End had opportunities to do better.
That's right. What about this city? This is a declining city. So is this county. It's declining, meaning the population is going away. The city is not getting better. Again, that points to leadership. Leadership, leadership, leadership. What are some things that you see that is wrong, and what are some things that can be done to improve this area?
Well, 30 years ago when we were coming up, there were viable jobs here. We had General Motors, we had, sewing and knitting plants, we had just opportunities for people to earn a decent living. And as a result of people earning a decent living, they put money back into the local economies. And one other thing took place then. National trends are based upon housing starts. How many houses, how many new houses built? How many folks buying houses? Well, when we look here in Meridian and Lauderdale County, and the county people tell us that we have one housing start a year, two housing starts a year, we know that that's not going to support a tax base. And if all we got is one new house or two new houses, then we know that our schools are going to have serious declines in revenue because one house ain't going to support it and two houses can't support it. So one of the first things we need to look at is how we can get people back in the home ownership again, because our trends here have reversed. Whereas people were buying houses and we had housing starts, ours have reversed, and we're not getting housing starts, we're getting more renters again. So why are we moving back in that reverse direction again? We got financial institutions, that want to help people to get in new homes. One of the programs that we were pushing was with the banks becoming more lender friendly with people in the community. And we've had a couple of banks that have really stepped up to the plate. One of them in particular, I know they won't mind me talking about them, is Citizens National Bank.
Could you give me another name? I need to hear one more. I want to hear that other one. I done heard about Citizens. Tell me one more.
Citizens is doing a stellar job, and I have to commend them because, to date, I think they've put over $3 million in grants and other monies back into the community to help with small business starts, homeowners starts, and so forth. So I know what they've done, and they have just done a stellar job. They have also hired minorities, people that look like us in the commercial and residential lending business. Trey Alford and Leslie Portis are there with Citizens National, and they are doing an excellent job. So I have to commend Archie McDonald, on his vision, and not only on his vision, putting it where his mouth is. And thank you very much, Archie.
And it's good to hear that. I've had a bad experience with the bank, and that's the reason why I wanted to know the name of the other bank. So you said there's another bank in Meridian also that has been good?
Yes, there has.
In this community with help uplifting the community, I'll say.
Yes, it has. We have relationships with gentlemen, my namesake, that worked with Citizens Bank. Charles Young, president of the local branch of Citizens Bank, has since retired, and I don't know if the practices of the local institution remain the same, but they helped develop a lot of properties in minorities.
So didn't you just say Citizen Bank? Is it two Citizen Banks?
We have the Citizens Bank of Philadelphia. We
Right.
call it Citizens Bank.
Okay.
And then you have Citizens National Bank.
Well, I got to give a hand clap to both of those banks. But this is not the bank that I had a bad experience with. I had a bad experience with the bank.
We have several financial institutions here that practice predatory lending procedures. And I've been doing everything I could at the state level to eradicate those policies in the state of Mississippi since I've been in the legislature. And what do I mean when I say predatory lending practice? Lending institutions that have higher than 20% lending rates, 20, 25, 30, 50, and in some instances, 100. Mortgage companies that have sliding scale amortization rates where you start out with a $200 or $300 payment, and the next thing you know, your house note has ballooned up to $500 or $600. I'm completely against those types of practices and think folks need to be put in jail.
And I agree. And they do have that. They had that subprime lending with houses. It was really bad at one time, and now they're doing that with automobiles.
Right.
People
right.
are buying cars. The cars are more expensive. They really, it's just too expensive. They can't really afford to keep those cars.
I'm
and they're
100%
not
against
keeping
those
them. Yeah,
practices,
yeah.
and I'll be introducing legislation this year to try to get rid of them. Unfortunately, these are big companies, and they spend a lot of monies on lobbyists, and in turn, when they spend that money with those lobbyists, the lobbyists help to protect their interests. And as a result, poor people and minorities wind up, again, on the short end of the stick.
We got to talk about education. Our children are not being educated. This area right here, Meridian Public School, I think they came up from an F to a D, and we still have the same superintendent. You don't have to talk about firing Amy Carter, but it's something wrong when we continue to promote incompetence, when we have our children are not being educated, and then we don't have a lot of leaders such as yourself, role models for our children to look up to and say, hey, I want to be like Representative Young. But our school system, education is really, I would not bring my child here unless some kind of circumstances, some type of hardship would force me to come here, because I cannot get a good education for my child. And then we got to talk about safety, and then we got to talk about the heavy-handedness of law enforcement toward the minority community in Lauderdale County.
Well, we have had some problems here in the past, and, anytime you have problems, it takes time to work at overcoming those problems. And you have to have good direction also, as you mentioned. Dr. Carter is moving into a role, or has moved into a role, in which, we had bottomed out. We were having problems with DOJ. We were having problems with state. We're having problems with discipline. When we start looking into our communities and into our homes, when Mr. R.D. Harris came back, the standard had fallen so low that Mr. Harris couldn't believe that some of his old students, where they were, doing what they were doing, acting how they were acting, looking how they were acting. So we have a long, long way to go to get back where we were. How long is that going to take? I don't know.
How will we? But I know. We're going to take some radical changes. We got to start somewhere. We got to get some qualified people in these positions, and we got to go and find them if we have to go all the way to California to find that person. And we need qualified black people. I have to say that. And you might not agree. That's me talking, people. I sincerely believe that a black mother should raise a black child.
One of the problems that we deal with, and this is from the state, is being able to hire those qualified people, like you say. The state has run into some serious complications with educators being able to meet the standard, and as a result of that, and I'll speak for Meridian Public Schools, we have had to hire teachers that have not been able to meet the bar for the state requirements, and with, I can't remember what the percentage was, but I know it was over 20% were having to be licensed under a temporary status, contingency status. So when you look at 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 people that you have in your workplace that might not be there to work that following term, that's a huge transition in your workforce, and it doesn't make for very good stability in the workplace. I don't know what it's going to take, but when we look at our HBCUs, you know, Alcorn and Valley and Jackson State, these are a lot of the people that are receiving these contingency status licenses to come and teach. So is it that we have an inferior product that's coming from the communities? Is it that we have an inferior product that's coming through education, you know, at the high school and collegiate levels? Or what is the problem? I have no idea.
I have an idea. We're accepting. We don't have to, we're accepting it. We don't have to accept that. We just got to pay the money. Instead of that money going toward road and bridges, it needs to go toward education. We're hurting ourselves because this is our state. The children are our future. So if we're not investing in them and we're giving them a substandard product, I don't think, I'm from Jefferson County over there. That's where I've been living at before I came back here. And I can tell you that substitute teacher has to have a college degree. Substitute teachers here, they got a GED, and they good to go.
So I agree with you 100% when it comes down to, you know, establishing a bar. We need to establish a bar, and we need to be firm. And when it comes down to the paycheck, then the paycheck needs to reach that standard.
It needs to.
And that again brings up, you know, another question, and that is a question of who we elect for our representatives, because teachers should stand up. You know, if your legislator votes against a pay raise to bring you to the Southern regional standard, you need to make certain that legislature is back at home.
That's right.
So again, you know, when we tell our legislatures that we're going to accept that type of behavior, we're going to condone that type of behavior, then you have to realize that you're part of the problem that's creating the problem.
That's right. That's right. It's good that you say that. As you know, that I'm for a blue wave on November the 5th. And one of the things that has been heavy on my heart is Wayman Newell representing District 2, a district that was created by the Justice Department for a minority. And Wayman Newell is playing both ends. He's not being sincere to anybody, not even to his white constituency, because he's going with Tate Reeves here, but if somebody says something, like he's playing advertising on WNBN with gospel music, but he doesn't listen to gospel music. And so these are the kind of what are the things that we need to tell people that they can stop doing exactly what you just said. We got to start voting what's best for our children, what's best for this community, and stop looking at black and white. While it is black and white, we got to look at black and white, but we got to stop voting with our emotions. How can we rise up above our emotions and do what's best for this? Because this is a declining county. This is a declining city, and it will continue to decline when we have teachers that we're accepting to teach our children because they can't. I know you're telling the truth. This is a true story, and I told it before. I took the MAT, that's the Military Analogy Test, to get my master's degree, and I applied for Mississippi State University, and I got denied admission. And so now normally I would have accepted that, but the date they denied my admission, I'm just throwing these numbers out, on August the 12th, but I didn't take the test, the MAT, until August the 17th. I said, wow, y'all doing this? And so they reinstated me. So I went to MSU. I got my master's degree in about 2 years, and it was teachers out there that was out there conditionally. Ray Denton, I'm going to call his name. He's over something at MCC if he's still there. They let him get his entire PhD up there, and you only can get like I think 12 hours, but they let them do it all up there. And we got to get away from that double standard. They denied me because I was a black male. When I applied into the PhD program at Jackson State, I got turned down on the committee now. Now, the chair was a black lady, but the committee was a white man, a white woman, and a black woman from South Africa. And they told me I couldn't go to Jackson State. Well, here I am. I made 49 on the MAT, and my GPA is 3 point. I think I made 17 A's and 2 B's while in college when I got my master's degree, and I got turned down. And that's hurting us. Those kind of things have coming back to bite us in the butt now, Representative Young, because now look at the state, our cities, our schools, everything is declining because they've made an effort, a concerted effort to keep black males out of higher education, keep black folks from getting education, keep black people really from just earning a good. We just want to enjoy life. We want to pursue happiness too. And so I guess I said a lot, but I would like for you to elaborate on that, especially from this.
I think you answered most of your own questions. With regard to how we need to conduct ourselves during, election periods, I think you answered that question. If people laughing you and smiling in your faces, like you said, and they're playing both ends against the middle, you need to exercise your vote.
That's right. Get him up out of there. He need to go.
And if people are smiling and laughing and skinning and grinning, you need to exercise your vote. One of the problems that I have at the state level is that, as you said, minorities are experiencing sharp declines in financial divisions of the pie. When the pie is divided, we can say, well, we make up 30, 35, or 40% of the population, but you receive less than 2% of the pie.
That's right.
So now does it become that you're looking for a handout when you have such a huge disparity in the opportunities that are being made available? Or do we call it something else?
And people, if you want to call in, the number to call in is 601-627-5318. And also on YouTube, you can go to the comment. If you have a comment, we got the Dice Man over there looking at the comments. If you have something to say, you want to ask the representative a question, make sure you do so. And make sure you thumbs up if you like us, and make sure you subscribe. And tell somebody to tell somebody. One of the things that I know, if you got to look at the person's report card. What is it that they have done? If they haven't done anything, you want to give them another chance. Ask them what they're going to do. They can't continue to give you watermelons and collard greens and smiling in your face and cleaning off a graveyard and expecting you to vote for them. They can't, the NAACP was going to have a forum on the 24th. And they canceled it because Wayman Newell's not coming to it. He's going to the Cattlemen Association. And all of you guys, Wayne Davis, Marie Franklin, Craig Houston, make sure y'all go to that Cattlemen's Association meeting on the 24th. Do what they've been doing to you. They coming all on you, into your communities, encroaching upon your constituency, asking them to vote for them. Do the same thing. And Craig Houston, you had a runoff because of 2 votes. So every vote counts. If you go out to that Cattlemen's Association, you go out there, all of you go out there. If you don't get but 1 or 2 votes, it might be enough to win. Do to them what they're doing to you. Representative, you care to elaborate on that?
Well, I'm of the same opinion that you are. And that is, in order to make a difference, the first thing you have to do is be at the table. So during this election cycle, like you said, Democrats are being represented in 4 of those county supervisor district elections. And that's the first start. The second start is showing up at the polls and exercising your right to vote.
That's right.
And that's how you make a difference in the political system.
I have a sound bite that I want the Dice Man to play. People, I want you to look at this sound bite. This is Wayman Newell now on the radio station. Dice Man, play that sound bite. It's coming, people, and I want to appreciate you, Rep. It's coming.
No, okay, so we'll come back to it.
We're gonna come back to it, but anyway, this is where on WMOX where the guy asked Wayman Newell about the solvency of the county, how much money they had or didn't have. Wayman Newell didn't know. Now he'd been there for 12 years now and did not know the answer. He said, I mean, he really didn't know. And you know they took it down, people, but not before I got it. So I have it, and we gonna pay it for it. Dice Man, let me know when you gonna play it. Will they be voting for you also on the 5th?
Yes, they will.
But unopposed, am I right or wrong?
Unopposed, you're correct.
That's right.
Yes, sir. But I appreciate the support of each and every constituent in House District 82. Every day we're working toward helping members of District 82, helping folks in Meridian and Lauderdale County, whether they're in the district or not. And we get calls from across the state for people that are seeking outreach. They seeking help. Eddie called me and asked me to be here. You know, I came in with my bag in my hand, straight out of the car to sit down in the seat
Sure
to
did.
get here in front of the mic and in front of the camera. Just drove off the road from Jackson. So this is normally an early day on getting back. Normally those days, you know, extend until 10 or 11 o'clock. And nowadays, you know, proper protocol isn't proper protocol anymore. It used to be, you know, from about 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening. Well, the phone doesn't start ringing now. You know, it runs from well before 8 in the morning until well after 8 in the evening. So this is one of the more difficult responsibilities that I've experienced in life, and I have quite a few now. But when you think about the number of people that have been wronged, are being done wrong, and have just various problems, you know, mistreated with regard to Medicaid or Medicare, having difficulties with family members that have been incarcerated, don't have visitation privileges, being mistreated while in jail, being offended while in jail, you know, with the elderly and disabled, with rehabilitation services, issues with law enforcement. You know, we're one of the only countries in the world that would make up laws that would say that a convicted felon can't have a weapon, but then you would turn around and say, if an individual is in possession of a weapon and law enforcement can't stop or detain that individual for possession of a weapon. And we realize that we have to be careful when it comes down to crossing the line on human rights. But if I'm law enforcement and if I'm the one that sent you to jail, I know you got a felony conviction. And if I see you with a weapon, I know that you have violated, you know, the terms and conditions of your parole if you're on parole.
That's right.
And if you're not on parole, you know, that's a lifelong.
Right.
So we move weapons into areas where we know we can get a 3-for-1. And when I say we can get a 3-for-1, I send one to the grave, I send one to jail, and I destroy a family.
Wow.
So those are the things that lay heavy on my heart.
And that's profound what you just said.
Yes, sir.
And it's the truth.
And, you know, Eddie, when we talk about the cycle that we're in right now, in the election period, we actually get a 4-for-1 because you disenfranchise the voter.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right. I want to ask you this.
We got some chats.
We got some chats over there. Dice Man, what are they saying over there?
We have Eileen Frazier who says, what is his response to what Mr. Holt said about not voting with your friends or race, but what's best for our children and community?
Oh, my response for that is just that.
Yeah, he agreed.
You need to support the people that are going to help support you, your family, and your community. The only way that you're going to be able to do better is if better opportunities are made for you.
And I agree. We just cannot continue to put people in office and then you watching that your seat in your state is declining. It's got to be more about graveyards. Graveyards don't vote. And while I like how that graveyard look over there, I think when I was a little kid the last time someone was buried over there, but we have other graveyards that would, in my opinion, deserve the same attention, but our children deserve more attention than that graveyard. And I don't have anybody in that graveyard, but I have children in school, a decline in school, so it should make a difference. Dice Man, can you play that soundbite now? Play that soundbite, people. I want you to look at this.
They're just gonna listen to it.
Yeah. They won't be able to see it. They're just listening.
No, they're just listening to it.
Okay, you're gonna listen to it. You won't be able to see it.
How are we financially in the county?
Y'all hear it?
Overall, I mean, how sound is this county financially?
Well, I would suggest that you ask Mr. Summerall to come on, and he's got all the numbers,
Stop
Bill.
it, Dice.
But
Stop. People, that was the DJ from WMO asking Wayman Newell. This guy been here for 12 years and don't know what kind of money the county has. I mean, so here's a person that's playing, ain't doing nothing, Representative. Now I want you to play it again, Dice. You know me how you play it again. So while let's rewind the people, you understand that they asking him a question and he don't know the answer. He don't know how much money the county has. Do you really want this person to represent you? I don't care what color he is. Let's see if this was a black man doing it. What if it was a black man cleaning the graveyards off and that's all that person has done? What if it was a black man and you ask him how much money the state has or the county has and he don't know? You'll be ready to tar and feather him and run him out of town. That's what's wrong with this city. That's what's wrong with this county, Representative. We keep having people we don't have the most stellar people
How are we finding?
representing us. We don't have people that deserve to be in their job, and we keep putting them there because we feel good. You know I like you, and I'm going to vote for you because you're doing a good job. You know I am. But here the thing of this.
You didn't ask me how much money the legislature appropriates every year.
You know, I'm getting ready to ask it. Folks, if you don't know the answer to this, we're going to do it right in on it. Are you ready to play that soundbite again? Because you know we going to ask. Go ahead, Dice, play it again.
How sound is this county financially?
well, I would suggest that you ask Mr. Summerall to come on, and he's got all the numbers, Bill. But you know, again,
Folks, that's sad. That's sad. Now, this man represents you. White folks, black folks, all of you. You need to vote him up out of there. I guarantee you, I'm going to bring Craig Houston on here, and I'm going to ask him that question. But I got to ask you the question, how sound is the state?
The state is financially solvent. And for the past 4 years, the state has had an appropriations budget that has been within a couple of $100 million, varies from year to year, of about $6.5 billion in appropriations.
Representative, come on, you're making me feel proud. Say it one more. Tell us these numbers again. People, reason why I'm proud, because this man, we put him there to do a job. He's doing his job, and he know those numbers. And that's the kind of person you want representing you.
And when we talk about the amount of money that normally moves through the Medicaid community, Mississippi has the highest Medicaid match in the nation at 4-1. Our portion of the Medicaid match is about 1.2, 1.3 million. The lowest has been is roughly 900 million. Wow. But when you take 900 million and you multiply it times 4, 3.6 billion. And when you take 1.3 and you multiply it times 4, that's a $4.2 billion add. 4.2 and 1.3 is how much? That's a lot of money.
It is.
That's a lot of money.
It is. And people, I got to say this, is that I guarantee you can ask Wayman Newell that question again. He still couldn't answer that question. And that's sad. But Representative, I want to thank you for coming here, but I ain't through with you yet because I got to ask you a question. But I want the Dice Man to play me a song. Dice Man, play me a song so I can talk to the representative. And coming back, folks, remember, like us on Twitter, like us on YouTube, subscribe. And you have any comments, put it there. The Dice Man will read it. And you can most certainly can call in at 601-627-5318. We'll be back in a few minutes.